Yesterday we looked at metacognition and we used the story by Langston Hughes, Thank You Ma'am, to help facilitate the process of highlighting and annotating. I want to show you today what that process might look like using our online platform, StudySync. So this is your online textbook for the year. You're going to be able to access it through your Schoology course directly so that you don't have to leave Schoology to get to the online textbook, which is called StudySync. And today I want to show you a preview of what that looks like, and I want to then have you practice highlighting, annotating, and working through a StudySync lesson on your own. So we have assigned you guys Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. Keep in mind that this is the story we read yesterday. When you open up your assignment, you're going to see the introduction. It will have a very short video to give you some background information about the author, Langston Hughes. Go ahead and read this information, watch the short video. There is a vocabulary section where you can preview some of the vocabulary words that are in this story and work through the definitions and create sample sentences then using the term. There's also a section here called Read, and this is the section where I want to show you how to highlight and annotate, because this will be part of your grade. And moving forward throughout the year, we are going to ask you to highlight and annotate on StudySync as you read some of the texts that we assign. So you can read a summary of the story here. And then this section that says read is where the story begins. So just to remind you, she was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but hammer and nails. And so this is where we started yesterday. We got through the first half of the story, and we got to, as the paper was printed out, we got to the end of page 2. We did provide you with that PDF, so hopefully yesterday you finished reading the story. So if you need to refresh on what happened, remember that this boy tried to steal the pocketbook from this woman. She physically grabs him and hauls him home. His name is Roger. She forces him to wash his face, and then she starts questioning why he is trying to steal, and does he have anybody at home to take care of him? And the boy says, there's nobody home at my house. And so we're going to find that, which is right here. He said, there's nobody home at my house. And so that's where we stopped reading yesterday, and hopefully you've read the rest on your own. I'm going to show you the highlight and annotation feature in StudySync at this point, and I'll start with the second half of the story today. Then we'll eat, said the woman. I believe you're hungry or been hungry to try to snatch my pocketbook. I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes. And so this is the really surprising part where you find out that there is something that he wants, and he's kind of on his own, and he doesn't have anybody to buy him this special pair of shoes. And it does create more sympathy as we are reading about this boy. Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get some suede shoes, said Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. You could have asked me. Ma'am? And this is where I was really surprised as I was reading. And so I think I'm going to make a note here about how surprised I was at her reaction when she said, you could have asked me. So to highlight and annotate, I'm going to click on the first word that I want to highlight, and then I will drag it over, and then I will click again when I'm on the last word. So that was one click, I let go, I rolled the mouse over, I clicked again. I'm now going to say what I was thinking. So here's my annotation. I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting her to suggest that Roger could have just asked for the money. And now I'm going to say create note. And this will allow your teacher then to go in and look at what you've highlighted, and then your teacher will also be able to see the annotation that you provided. Ma'am? The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face, and not knowing what else to do, dried it again, the boy turned around, wondering what next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while, she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." There was another long pause. The boy's mouth opened. He frowned, but not knowing he frowned. The woman said, you thought I was going to say but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks. Well, I wasn't going to say that. Pause. Silence. I have done things too, which I would not tell you, son, neither tell God if he didn't already know. So you sit down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you will look presentable. Something that I noticed here, I was surprised that she responded this way, but I could also tell that the boy was surprised. It said that the water was dripping down his face, and he just looked at her, and there was a long pause, a very long pause. He dried his face, not knowing what else to do, and then he dried it again. So I'm going to click here. That was one click, and I let go of the mouse. And now I'm going to just scroll over, and then I'm going to click one more time on the very last word that I want to highlight. Now it's giving me the option to add a note. So I'm going to say, the boy was surprised too. Now I'm going to select Create Note, click, and here we go. Here's another highlight and annotation for my teacher to see. So I'm going to keep reading. In another corner of the room behind a screen was a gas plate and an icebox. Mrs. Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which she left behind her on the daybed. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room, where he thought she could easily see him out of the corner of her eye, if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. So I thought this was a really interesting paragraph because the characters are really evolving at this point as they are building rapport with each other. They're building that relationship. I want to highlight where it says, right here, the woman did not watch to see the boy if he was going to run, nor did she watch her purse, which she left behind her on the daybed. And I'm going to then click on the last word of that sentence, and here's where I'm going to add my note. The note is going to say, they are building trust with each other. Create note. So one more time, the way I did that was click, let go of the click, scroll over, click a second time on the very last word and let go, and then I typed my annotation and then said create note. "Do you need somebody to go to the store?" asked the boy. "Maybe to get some milk or something?" "Don't believe I do," said the woman, "unless you just want sweet milk yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here." "That will be fine," said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or his folks or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. "Eat some more, son," she said. And so here I'm going to do one final note for you guys. Click, scroll, click a second time. I'm going to type the note. So what I was thinking as I read this is, she reminds me of my grandmother. So that's actually a personal connection that I was able to make with the text. Create note, and there's another highlight and annotation. So what we're going to ask you to do in this section is you can think about what I have highlighted and annotated. You can think back to what we read yesterday in the first half of the story, and we want you guys to practice using the highlight and annotation tool with this story. We want you to have at least 10 different highlights and annotations. This right here is one. That's a highlight and annotation. That's one. Here's another highlight and annotation. That's a second one. Here would be a third one. And here's a fourth one. So you can copy the ones that I've shown you today. You can think back to what we did yesterday. You can read the rest of this story and do some more on your own. but when we go through, we're going to look for 10. And we're looking for quality. It's not just about, did you do 10? We will be reading what you write, and we want to see what's going on in your head. Remember that you can use your annotation guide to help you with this process. And so use that annotation guide. Think about what you can see in the text, and then what does that make you think about? And then write that for your annotation. Once you finish highlighting and annotating, that's in the read section. There is a quiz for you to take. It's pretty standard. This is pretty self-explanatory. You'll read the question and then you'll select the correct answer. There is also a think section, and we want you to think about this question. It does tell you to cite specific evidence. We haven't gone over that quite yet, so you don't have to pull text evidence from the story, but you can reference what happened in the story in your own words. And then we'll go over, actually in just a few days' time, how to cite specific evidence from the text. Let your teacher know if you have any questions, and good luck.